evening. Right now, Metro Police are desperately searching for the person or people responsible for killing a man and a woman.
I got a male down in the middle of the street.
Breaking news now, a triple shooting leaves 2 dead.
Never expect for somebody to tell you your loved one was murdered.
This Labor Day will mark 42 years that have haunted the St. Cloud family.
30 years. 30 years this family has waited for answers.
A couple months go by, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you really start to struggle with the idea that the case might not get solved and that somebody might get away with murder.
It's very unfortunate that we have any cold cases at all, and certainly unfortunate that we have as many as we do. And that's why Ryan's work and the work of Project Cold Case is so important.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Ryan Backman, founder and executive director of Project Cold Case, and joining me is Katie Jeffries.
Hello, I'm with First Coast News. I work on the series Unsolved, which follows local cold cases.
Yeah, you've seen a lot. We share that all the time. Every time you do a story, you just did. We just aired one last week. I know you've been working on them for a few months now, but that was a Nassau County missing persons case.
Right. So we do cold cases and kind of cold missing persons cases.
Yeah.
Ones that are probably suspected to be homicide. So we kind of do both of those.
Yeah. That was a good one. We shared it the other day. Do you have one coming this week? Or
Unfortunately, no. That was the last one for probably
series?
until February.
Okay. Good deal. Well, always check those out. First Coast News Unsolved. You guys do a great job with them. Today we're going to be talking about TJ Nunley, which was way back when you first started doing this, when you kind of originally decided this was a subject you wanted to take on and feature. TJ Nunley was 19 years old.
Right. Murdered in December of 2012.
2012. So we're coming up on the 7-year anniversary. We haven't really done anything with TJ's case in a while. I think when the segment aired in 2017, so that was 2 years ago.
Right.
So we don't like these cases to sit around for too long without bringing them back up into the public eye. That's why we use this platform on Facebook Live. So we wanted to kind of remind people that TJ's case is still unsolved, give them the information that we have, so that maybe if someone out there has information, they can come forward and we can resolve this case for the family. The first thing I want to do is show the segment that you did on First Coast News, because I think that will get everybody up to speed that maybe doesn't know. So watch this, and then we'll come back and talk more about it.
At just 19 years old, TJ Nunley's next chapter of life was just beginning. He was excited to start college and become a graphic designer, but he never got that chance. He was murdered in 2012, and now his family is left wondering what his life could have been and who killed him. Here's Katie Jeffries with Unsolved.
The bright yellow petals are unmistakable.
I think my favorite thing to see now is sunflowers. That was our thing, sunflowers.
Dina Westbrook's bittersweet love of the flower is rooted in the memories of her son, Thomas James Nunley. The middle child, with 2 sisters, TJ had picked up his mother's green thumb and his father's love of music. Gardening while blasting Beatles music is how Dina likes to remember her son. Not how his life ended. He was murdered in December of 2012.
The last couple days I've done nothing but cry and think and wonder why.
TJ went out for a walk along Fort Caroline Road, as he often did, to clear his head when working on a music or art project. His parents, on their way home from a Christmas party, drove past the crime scene, not knowing it was their son that had been shot in the chest and died.
I think this one was also a robbery attempt that had gone bad. He was found shot in the roadway.
Dina says when she got the news, she didn't want to believe it. She called out TJ's name in their home, but was only answered by silence.
He could have given a lot to the world. He could have been a productive member to society and really given the world beauty. A lot of beauty.
On a table, she spreads out pictures of TJ's life, from his first picture as a newborn to the last picture of him ever taken at a wedding. His loss is felt in every aspect of his family's lives.
The hardest part for me was going to the grocery store and still buying everything that I always bought for him. I did that for a long time.
As the years have ticked by, Sergeant Dan Jansen with the cold case unit at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office admits this is one of their more difficult cold cases to crack.
Very limited evidence. There was no video around in the area. So anybody that could have saw anything at that time in the morning that is involving him would be most helpful.
While difficult, he says it is not impossible to solve. Crime doesn't happen in a vacuum. People talk, and someone out there has information.
It happens in many, many ways in different forms, but information does come to us.
Dina says she firmly believes there are people out there who know who killed her son. And though her faith has helped her through TJ's death, she worries that her son's killer could take another life.
Losing your child, and then now not knowing who did it so that person can do that to someone else. That bothers me more than anything, because I don't want anyone else to have to feel this pain. It's horrible.
As she and her family wait for justice, she says they plan on scattering TJ's ashes underneath a backyard tree and planting more sunflower seeds. So even on the darkest day, they can look out the window and see something beautiful taking root in TJ's memory. In Jacksonville, Katie Jeffries with photographer Jeff Renfro for First Coast News.
And there is a $15,000 reward for information leading to a conviction in the death of TJ Nunley. So if you know anything tonight, please call JSO or Crime Stoppers. Also, you can look for more of our Unsolved series. It's inside this story on firstcoastnews.com.
All right, so there you saw the story. Another really good story that you guys did. TJ was
19 years old, just went out for a walk.
Yeah, he liked to clear his head. He would make music, mix music, and he lived in the Fort Caroline area of Jacksonville over Arlington. Went for a walk that evening. Sergeant Jansen in the video says that he believes it was a robbery gone bad. I remember when we did this segment, like this was one of those cases where he said, like, we really need the public's help.
Right.
Like this is, the random acts of violence are always the most difficult to solve because
there's not that connection between suspect and victim necessarily.
Right. It makes it just really, really hard for investigators and really need the public's input and the public's help. This case was unique for me in the fact that the person that found TJ on the ground on Fort Caroline Road is the brother-in-law of a good friend of mine. So at the time I was working at Compassionate Families, kind of got the call from them that right. This is what just happened. You expect that you'll be meeting with this family before too long, and it's true. I've known Dina and Aaron that you saw in the video there for a long time now. I've kept in close contact with them. TJ was one of the first cases that Project Cold Case spotlighted and on our website because I had gotten to know them so well over the years. But it was, from the beginning was one of those really tough cases that investigators really needed the public's help with, and that hadn't changed.
Right. They still need help because they didn't have video in that area. There wasn't, at least to their knowledge, a connection between TJ and the person that killed him. Right. So that always makes things so hard to investigate. Yeah, and then
earlier this year, somebody came to the family and claimed to have information and started telling the family, giving names, talking about situations. I know I was in contact with the family during that time, passing that information on, making sure that the sheriff's office had it. And my understanding is that the sheriff's office interviewed a couple people, took another look at things, and then the last I heard was that those conversations did not produce any results. It doesn't mean that the information wasn't good. It just means that law enforcement has to be able to prove
Right.
that information is good and have evidence that corroborates.
It has to stand
the
up in
story.
court.
Right. So whoever that was that came forward at the time, there needs to be more. There needs to be some way of proving that, and if that information is true. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do here. That by bringing this story back out again, here we are, literally just less than 2 weeks from the 7th anniversary of TJ's murder. The impact on this family. You interviewed Dina.
Yeah.
You saw firsthand the struggle that she has. We're friends on Facebook, and I know how hard it hits her. I know how much she would love to have answers in this case.
Right. And there's still a reward for $15,000 for people who have information.
Yeah. There's reward money out there, and at the end of the day, there's a killer still out there. So
like she said, if someone did this to TJ, what is to stop him from doing it, or him or her, from doing it to someone else because they get away with it one time? What's to stop them from doing it another time?
Right, exactly. Like I said, I've known this family for a long time, and they've had some suspicions. They've had information that was provided to them, but it's never been enough for law enforcement to make an arrest, or for, let's say, attorney's office to prosecute. And so that's where we want to get now. That's kind of what we're asking the public's help for now, to share this story again. We're not going to stop sharing these stories until they're solved. So, but we get families and concerned citizens that call us all the time, and they want to know how they can help. And I don't think they like the answer.
It's sharing things like this.
Yeah,
it's awareness.
It's raising awareness for these cases. It's sharing. It's talking about it. And it's so simple, but I think we have this idea that by helping, we're going to be sorting through evidence and interviewing
like
suspects,
gumshoe inspecting or something.
And the reality is that that's not our role. Like, our role to help these cases is to just get the information out there and try to reach the person that's going to come forward and solve it. So, we get that question all the time. I want to help solve cases. Great. Like our social media platform and share these stories.
Yeah, even with our stories, my role just as a journalist is to bring awareness to it. I'm not necessarily, out there trying to re-interview or get in the way of someone else's investigation, but to put awareness, put it back out there, bring awareness to it.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot with your Unsolved series, is getting the families involved. You saw Dina in that segment, and that was 2 years ago. Like, the emotion, like, for anybody that thinks that the pain gets easier, that it goes away or stuff like that, it doesn't. And that's why you telling that story and getting the family involved to speak out is so important, because it really is important that people understand that Thursday's Thanksgiving, it's the holiday season. These families are going to be struggling with that, knowing that there's an empty seat at the table,
right?
That there's going to be people in their family or at their Thanksgiving dinner that are going to be scared to mention their loved one's name because they don't want to upset anybody. And it becomes a thing where it's, this elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. And typically, the survivors, the Dinas, I don't want to speak for her, but, they want people to talk about.
Right, because you don't want your loved one to be forgotten.
Your loved one forgotten. We did a support group last week, and we talked a lot about the holidays. And that was one of the topics, was like asking people that are at your holiday meal to share a funny memory or a fun memory
talk
of
about
the
the
loved
good
one.
times.
To talk about the good ones, and that actually can do a lot for these families, as opposed to avoiding the
feeling like you have to tiptoe around
and tiptoe around it. And we hear people, they say this, so it's a common reaction, is that well, I don't want to say anything to upset, somebody, and I don't want to remind them about such a horrible time.
It's not as if they've forgotten.
Yeah, and the idea that these families don't wake up every single day thinking about their loved one, then the shift does become, why doesn't anybody else ever think about, so and so? Why don't they talk about it? So we're talking about it, and we're going to keep talking about it, and we're going to keep sharing these stories and hoping that that someone out there will come forward, with new information.
I do like talking to families, especially because they can offer insight on who the person was. I can't get anything from a police report that tells me what flower TJ liked.
Yeah.
That he loved sunflowers.
That he gardened. That he had a green thumb.
He loved gardening, or he, got his love of music also from his family. So, that's why I love talking to family. You get a better sense of who someone was.
Absolutely. And we talk about this in our office, and we say, our loved ones are typically, they're defined by their last moment on earth, and that's not fair to them.
Yeah, that's what's written about them.
Yeah, TJ's story is not about his murder. TJ's story is about the 19 years he was here, and so it is hard for journalists to be able to do that, and it's certainly hard.
Family,
and without family, and it's certainly hard to squeeze that into such a short amount of time. Your segments are much longer usually, and actually do get the opportunity to kind of dive into that.
Thankfully.
Thankfully. Hopefully your station will continue that trend. But it is, we have a partnership with the University of North Florida, and they have a journalism class that we get to help us with our spotlights that we do, our written spotlights. And, and that's what I tell them when I stand up and present to them is don't define these people by their victimization in their last moments on life.
Right.
Tell their story. Ask. The easiest way to get a family to talk to you is to ask about their loved one.
Right.
And then, getting them to stop talking can sometimes be the hard part. I remember a family you spoke to early on, and they said, well, we were a little surprised when we interviewed with her for an hour that it's only going to be a 3-minute segment.
You're like, that's all I can do.
It was like, wow, you thought there was going to be an hour, but it is. You start talking, and those memories and things start flowing, and you really do get an actual full picture, or at least an insight into who somebody was. And TJ, for example, I think, Clint, do we have some pictures of him that we can show? I think, you don't want to stereotype anybody or judge anybody, but do you think that most people think that guy's out in the garden? He's a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, you just, it's not something that you would typically think about. Yeah, that he had a green thumb. But that's him, and you were able to tell that story.
And he loved to garden while listening to Beatles music.
Right. I mean, who doesn't think that's cool? You know what I mean? He's so, and this picture of him with Ice Cube, I love it. It's his mom has shared that on social media in the past, and it was somebody that TJ looked up to and admired, and so I just think it's really cool to see this person, that we didn't have the opportunity to know.
Yeah.
That was taken from us, that was taken from society, that no one now that didn't know TJ will get to know him except through these stories.
And you want to reach to, at least I think about it when I tell these stories, and if you also kind of want to reach, if there's somebody who knows something but they don't want to come forward, really kind of show them who this person was and why you should come forward, because there's still a family that hurts, and this person was more than just those moments. This is who that person was.
Absolutely. And I see that TJ's mom is on, and she's watching. Dina, we're always thinking about you. I think that Project Cold Case was founded at a time where you and I were close, and we talked a lot, and so TJ has always been kind of at the foundation of this organization. It was one of the reasons why we even started this organization, because we knew families like TJ's, Dina and Aaron, and we knew that there could be something more that could be done, and that could be dedicated to victims like TJ's, and that's why we did it, and so we've always just had a very special place, with them. They've had a special place with us, And Dina's commenting that she prays for justice every day. And I know Dina is a very spiritual person and relies heavily on her relationship with God. And I'm sure that that's gotten her through to this point. And but we want to make sure that she gets some answers. And we will continue to share these stories and talk about TJ and share his images. One of the things we're doing now on our spotlights on our page is we're kind of launching this new layout, and I'm going to show you just real quick. Like TJ, like I said, he was one of the very first cases we ever spotlighted, and I'll be honest, I was doing this out of my house with my infant daughter in my arms, so the writing is horrible and there's not a lot of detail in it. And so we're going to go back over time and redo these spotlights and give more information. But what we've done is we've added this new area on the side that shows photo albums where we can include photos.
And old newspaper clippings.
And old newspaper
and
clippings and your videos. We can upload them from your site to so that people can watch these stories and kind of have what we hope will be almost like a case file on a one-stop shop where the family can share this page.
And here's everything.
And here's everything, and they can add to it. They can tell us, hey, we want to, can you add these photos? And we can't make it a million photos, but 10 or 15 photos that, and we want to show throughout their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, this doesn't have to be. This is
just December 9th of 2012.
Right, exactly. This is the last photo of our loved one. We want it to be, this is TJ when he met Ice Cube. You know what I mean? This is TJ as a young person, in school. And here he is as a teenager, and then we want to be able to share the whatever media that we have, whatever publicity that the case has gotten, so that anybody can look at that and they can get a broader picture and see the importance of these cases. We're real happy. We're just getting started on that. In fact, this morning, Clint and I were talking, and I was like, "Look, I took these pictures and I put them on the thing, and then we added the video." Yeah, and he was like, "We should launch this on the Facebook Live and show people that that's our new thing." So there's really not that many cases that we've had time to go back in and put on. We're starting to do it now with the newer spotlighted cases, and we've got some interns that are helping us to infill, and go back through there. But we want those families to know that, when we call and harass you for pictures, we're really not trying to harass you. Yeah, we want people to get a full picture of your loved one. We want people to understand.
I mean, same when we're trying to tell stories. We'll take as many pictures as we can get because it helps show their life. It helps to give more than just one view of somebody. So same, if you're ever talking to media, give them as many pictures as you can.
Absolutely. And we know that there's unfortunately we've run into situations where whether it was a child whose parent was killed in the 70s and they just don't have photos, or they're in some family member's storage unit or attic, or we had a situation where a house caught fire years later and you lose photos. So it kind of leads into another reason why we want to do this. We want to archive this stuff for families, and we've kind of a soft launch of that, where we've told families like, we'll pull these archived newspaper clippings for you. We'll put them in one spot. We'll take your photos and put them in one spot. We'll take these videos, that are online and put them in one spot.
So then they all know where to go. That's
good.
So
then they know where to go, and God forbid something happened to some of those images, that they're out there forever and always. So, it's just one more. You've been around us now long enough to know that this organization is constantly evolving, and what started as just images of victims so that people knew their loved one wasn't forgotten has really grown and expanded and evolved, and we're always looking at ways to raise awareness for the cases, to make sure these victims are never forgotten, and make sure these families know that someone else cares. Like I said, we're right around the holidays now. It's going to be a very tough time for a lot of families, And we want them to know that, they're not alone, and that we all do still care on all sides of this, the media. Again, First Coast News allowing you to put together.
And they've been very supportive of it. I mean, if I could do more Unsolved, I think they would love that. It's just a matter of time and schedule and, putting them together. You don't want to rush them or else they won't have the same quality.
I was going to say, you've got to be efficient, but right now you've got this formula that really is working. And it's separating you from, a lot of the other cold case stories that are out there. So, you don't want to mess with it too much.
No, that's why we do them in our little spurts.
Yeah, I do wish we could do more, only because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But what same thing we've learned, is that you just have to have patience, and you have to maintain that big picture perspective that, slow and steady,
right.
Do it right, do it the best you can. And it'll pay off in the long run, we believe. So we hope that continues for you as well at First Coast News.
I think it definitely will. And I know that this was one of the stories that we did back in 2017, but every time you air a story, you always hope, like, oh, I hope they get a tip from it. I hope that this story helps bring them some closure. And Dina was so nice. She was so sweet. Like, your heart feels for everyone you talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's, it's been very tough for her. It's been very tough for her family. I know TJ has a number of sisters,
Two sisters.
that have.
I think he was the youngest.
Yeah, he I see the pictures on online, social media, the family, and I know that, always in those pictures and always in those family gatherings is somebody's missing, and that's not lost on us. We think about that with all of our cases, but this week we really wanted to kind of remind people that TJ's case is still open. It's it's a cold case, but it's
still
no
unsolved.
One has been arrested, and the family has actually moved away from Jacksonville, partly because of the violence, and what they had to deal with, but.
You don't want to have to drive down the street where it happened, to go to your house every day.
It's really, really hard, and we can appreciate that and understand that. So again, anybody that has information on TJ Nunley's case, December 9th, 2012 is when it happened on Fort Caroline Road.
He was shot in the chest, I believe, found in the roadway there of Fort Caroline.
Yeah. Call Crime Stoppers, 866-845-TIPS. There's a reward. The reward should be the least reason why you do it, but hey, it's Christmas time, it's holiday time.
If that gets you to call.
Yeah. If who couldn't use some extra money in their pocket this season to provide for their family. So if that's what you need, then by all means, call Crime Stoppers, remain anonymous, give them that information. Call JSO. If you're willing to testify and come forward and be a part of this process to put away somebody that literally in cold blood shot and killed, a young man that was just walking down the street,
that's cruel. It's pretty cruel.
It is. And I know the family, it would mean the world to them. So again, to Dina and Aaron, we're thinking about you now and always. To all our families, Thursday's Thanksgiving. We do have a lot to be thankful for, but it doesn't go unnoticed that there's going to be an empty seat at a lot of tables, and that's going to be hard on a lot of you. So we want you to know that we're here for you and we're thinking of you. We hope that everybody watching this has the happiest Thanksgiving possible and can focus on those positive, fun times and memories. If you need us, you know how to reach out to us. Thank you for watching. Katie, you have anything to add?
No, I hope that this just like Ryan said, keep sharing this video, because all it takes is the right person to see it, and to see the picture, and hopefully, convince somebody this is the time to come forward.
Absolutely. Thanks, Katie, for all you do and for joining us. Really do wish everybody the happiest Thanksgiving, and reach out to us if you need us. We're going to show the remembrances for victims of this week. And we'll check in with you next week with another Facebook Live. Thanks.